Tonight I am going to teach you how to make a very simple meal
in under 10 minutes.
Start with pork chops, which we're going to pan sear. We're going to do some roast asparagus in the oven, which is really simple, and we're going to make a very simple, if we can just get over here, pan sauce. So first things first, because we got to run. This is a sharp knife. These are two nice bone-in pork chops. You'll notice what they want to do is make sure that this meat is not freezing cold. I've had it on the counter for about 20-25 minutes. I put a little salt on it early, just
salt into it. I'm going to put a little more salt, okay? I'm going to put a little bit of pepper. And then I want to make sure that I get some salt on that fat, because the fat, we're going to make sure we cook and sear.
Yeah. So they're also very dry, that's important. You don't want to have pork with condensation on it when it goes in the pan, because then it's going to steam, and if it steams, it's not going to bond with the meat. So how do we know a pan is hot? And speaking of pans, guys, you'll notice it has a good flat bottom. This is ceramic. It could be steel. It could be cast iron. It could be your mom's Cruze. Don't wreck your mom's Cruze. Or it could even be Teflon in a pinch. Okay, so we're just going to put some olive oil in there. Spread it around. It's starting to smoke. That's good. Positive. We'll know it's done when we start to get significant sizzle with a pinch of water. We're almost there. All right, while that's happening, sharp knife, let's make sure that we just put a slight little slit in the fat, because the fat is going to shrink faster than the meat. You guys make sure after that you get rid of that. Wash your hands quickly. While I'm waiting for those pork chops to sear, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my asparagus prepped. So these asparagus have been washed, but they haven't been cut. You guys will notice that the tips are pretty dry, okay? And that's the hard bit that you're not going to eat anyway. So let's just really get rid of those. We don't need them. Again, these have already been washed in a roasting pan. Good. Olive oil.
There we go. A little bit of olive oil. Good. Salt. And of course our friend pepper. I'm just going to roll them around. Make sure they're ready to go.
Okay, those are going to take about 15 minutes. These are going to go in the same time as the pork. I want to get them prepped now. Pork is actually searing very nicely. You're starting to get that really crispy sound coming off of it, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, very good. At this point, take a tiny bit of your butter. You don't need to use all of it. Use your own discretion. Get it in there, you're going to really see a nice sizzle. Now, why butter as well? Butter's going to get a really nice brown texture and color on the meat, and that's what we want. Because I'm going to show you guys how to make a pan sauce. Most people always throw out the pan juice when they cook. Not really a good idea, because what you get from that is the nice drippings from the meat. You're going to get a really savory sauce, and it's really easy to make. Half onion. Over here, my pork chops are telling me it's time to flip them. They've released. There we go. Outstanding. All right. So we've got a nice brown on those pork chops, and that is what you're going to want to see, people. You want to see a nice brown on those pork chops. Not burnt, but definitely with a bit of color. There we go. Now, why am I doing this? Well, you baste the chicken in the oven. You're going to baste these in the pan. This is going to keep them juicy. So here we are. We're searing these pork chops now. They're looking pretty. And that onion's good. We probably won't need all of that onion. So again, probably about a. As you can see, these pork chops are coming along brilliantly. I'm going to baste them one more time. And they're just about ready to go in the oven. Good. Once the pork chops have good color, you can see they're nice and seared on both sides. That's lovely color. We want to take the fat. That's that side right there. I want to get that in the juice, okay, in the oil that's in there, and we want to sear that as best we can. Now, you can cut that off if you don't like fat, or if it's not in your diet, but we want to make sure we're searing that, and you can hear that right now. The pork fat will end up looking like that, and like that. Pork chops, okay? You can see how well seared they are. That's going to lock in the juice. Those are going in the 375-degree oven. Bang, good. Now, people, very key step here. Take something made out of ceramic, or that's oven proof. We want to get rid of that burnt juice. That's no good to anybody. Now we're going to use something which is time-honored amongst cooks. It's called deglazing. We're going to take that onion, put it in the pan. Good? As we put it in the pan, take a little bit of chicken stock. Can you hear that? All right, we're gonna put it back on the heat, but we're gonna drop the heat from high right down to low. Okay, we're gonna stir those onions. Reason we're using onions in a pan sauce, I know a lot of you don't like onions, you're not gonna even taste them. They're gonna completely disintegrate here, and they're just gonna leave you with that savory flavor. They're also gonna release some of their starch, which is gonna help thicken our sauce, which is really important. So I've got more than enough onions here. I can add the rest of that stock. There we go. Turn up the heat just a tiny bit. Okay, tarragon. You can use oregano, you can use thyme, you can use really anything you want. Okay, I'm gonna take about a teaspoon here, then another teaspoon. That should be about right. Get that into my sauce. It's happening right now. Here we go. Immediately you guys are gonna smell whatever herb you put in there, and that's good. If your pan's steaming like that, that means the herbs are letting go of their aromas and their oils, and that's what you want. Now, take a tiny bit. This is going to be a mustard sauce tonight. If you don't want to do a mustard sauce, just use the chicken stock, the tarragon, and what's left of the recipe. I'm doing a mustard sauce. I'm going to take a big tablespoon of mustard, take a whisk. That's ceramic pan. We don't want to whisk too hard, but we want to mix that mustard up. I'm going to add some vermouth. It's going to give it just a little bit of a sweet flavor. I'm going to take a quarter cup, a little bit more. So a little bit more, but just under a quarter cup of vermouth. A little bit more in there. And we want our sauce now to reduce. That's going to mingle all the flavors together. Perfect. Pepper. Salt. A little bit because the mustard's pretty salty. Don't go crazy on it. Those pork chops in the oven for about 12 minutes, and we want to get them out right at about 130 degrees. The asparagus came out after 10 minutes. Okay, pork chops are here. As you can see, they're looking very good. So a lot of people take the meat directly out of the oven. They eat it right away. We're not going to do that. We're just going to take the meat. We're going to put it on a cutting board. Put it on some tin foil if you want. We're going to let it stand. By letting the meat stand, this is really important when you barbecue or when you sear meat in a pan. The juice is going to come out of the meat, it's going to come back into the meat, it's going to be a more tender piece of meat. If you eat the meat steaming hot, you're not going to, like anything else, you won't get all the flavor out of it, and it's going to taste pretty bland. It's also going to be hard to put in your mouth, so just leave that there for a minute. The asparagus came out. Okay, we got a nice sear on that asparagus. Ready to sear it. I've turned my oven off now. I like a hot plate. Ask your mom or your dad first. Don't go breaking plates. Those are heavy duty plates. I'm going to put them in the oven for about 30 seconds. Okay, I made a really simple olive oil, garlic, tarragon, and white vinegar sauce here. You can throw a bit of Dijon mustard in it if you like. It's going to go on a lovely green salad with green onions and feta, but that's really, as Lisa Simpsons was told in The Simpsons, you don't make friends with salad. And in my experience, you don't. So those plates just need a minute. I'm stirring my pan sauce, which if you can get a zoom on that, okay, it's looking good now. It's not going to be a thick St. Hubert gravy. If you want to make it thicker, just add a tiny bit of cornstarch and water and whisk it in. I'm not going to add cornstarch to mine. These plates just want to be a little warmer so nothing goes cold right away. Okay, these pork chops are really starting to come together. They've been sitting there for almost 5 minutes. Take some nice asparagus, put it sort of to the left center of your plate. There we go. Now, what we can do is take a pork chop each. I'm just going to lie that on the meat. Nice and simple. If you want to impress your parents with presentation, or possibly someone else, although we are in quarantine, so keep it to your immediate family. Okay, we're going to take some lovely mustard sauce. All right, we're just going to spoon that over the meat. I'm just going to spoon that over the meat. I always like a bit extra on mine, so put a little bit more here. There we go. Now, if you want to get those onions out of the sauce, it's pretty simple to do. Strainer, pot, simply strain the onions out. You'll have the sauce left in the pan. I like the onions in my sauce. It adds a little more. So, a little bit of pepper. I would suggest eating the salad before or after this meal. I seared these chops for about 2 minutes per side. They were then in a 375-degree oven for 12 minutes. Okay, if you do have a meat thermometer, really good idea, just take the meat thermometer, okay, and just put it in here, just to make sure. You can do this on the cutting board before you cook them. I know they're cooked because I make this all the time, but I don't want anyone getting sick. All our ovens cook differently. Yeah, it is simple bone-in pork chops with grilled asparagus and a green salad. Pretty easy dinner.